Hello and welcome. My name is Brandon Wendell, Charter Market Technician, and I'm going to do a little analysis on some of the more popular cryptocurrencies. Starting off here with the granddaddy of them all, Bitcoin. On a weekly chart, you can see that we have done a bit of a retracement to the 38.2%. However, with that bearishness coming in, it could be the end of the retracement. So, what I'd be watching for this week, let me go ahead and remove all these real quick, is this. If we confirm this as a high, and the way we do that is we get a new move this week where we don't make a new high, but we make a new low. Basically, if Bitcoin breaks below 41,697 without going higher, then we're bearish because we will make another high, just like we did back here. You can see we make a high without getting above 60 on the RSI, then you end up making fresh lows. So once again, if we end up pushing down a little bit, expect new lows to be made, not necessarily this week, but very, very soon. Sorry, my dog is whining in the background here. So let's drop down into the daily time frame and see what kind of details we make out here and see if there's anything that might cause us to turn or pause. Actually, it looks as though we paused on our move back down and we were stalled out by this area of demand, believe it or not. So we go back to these settings. There we go. And you can see that we could not make a new low below 40. We also couldn't make a new low, period. We just did a small retracement. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if the Bitcoin can kind of find some footing. So if we end up bouncing off this area of demand, we could see that this was just simply a correction on this pullback, or I'm sorry, on this rally here. And let's see if we end up hitting a Fibonacci retracement on this as well. Just kind of curious. Not really. That was 50% in the middle. We did kind of get a little bit of stalling right at 38.2, but if we do continue to move higher from this area, after this retracement, you can see our next target up would be 47,712. And, there's not really any great zone right here. As a matter of fact, there's nothing there. It's just a little bit of sideways movement before we do break down. I guess you could say this is a zone, but that's actually below and already tested. So you can see that there it is. It was a drop-based drop area supply that was tested right here. And we went above 60, so that's why we didn't make a new low, but are yet trying to bounce here. So honestly, this is looking, let me go back again to the weekly time frame. On the weekly, we do see weakness, but it's not confirmed that we're going to continue to move down yet because, again, we don't know if this is the high or if we're going to continue to push a little higher. However, the weekly chart, we were at an area supply here as well. As you can see, we have rally, base, drop, or even drop, base, drop. Either way, you can see we failed to get above 60 on that move up. So it does look overall that if we do break down below 41,697, we are going to make new lows, without a doubt. The question is, it may not happen this week. When will it happen? So if this is going to be continuing to move up, if we can see a break above the recent high, really it has to break above this high price, that is. We got to break above that 43,038. If we can do that, then we're probably going to rally up to about 47,712. If we don't, if we end up making a new low first, then expect the prices to continue to drop and push down towards 32,000, I believe was the next area of demand on the bigger time frame. Or maybe it was on this time frame. Let's take a look. Yeah, it's right here. There's an area of demand, or is that already tested as well? Hang on just a second. Missed the... There it is. Yeah, it's close, but it wasn't quite tested yet. So we may have already gone down close enough to cause a little bit of weakness in that area. But like I said, we bounced up. This is actually suggesting that we've had a little retracement. We might get a little bit of bounce. So if we move above 43,038, expect a price move this week towards the 47,712. If not, if we break the low first, 41,697, expect a retest of this area of demand, which is 37,389. So really, it's a matter of which breaks first, the high or the low. So if we break the low, 37,389 is the target. If we break the high, then we've got the 47,712 as the target to the upside. Going down to the 4-hour time frame, let's see if there's any kind of a sign as to which way the market wants to go. There really isn't. We're just stuck sideways with almost no momentum whatsoever. We tried to rally, make new highs, but we lost all of our momentum, and that's what kind of plunged us and then made us move a bit sideways. And we're seeing there's a little bit of a demand zone just above that area that I had. And it's not very good. I think we could probably move back down in that 37,389. Again, if we break the lows, that's where we're headed. Go down to the 60-minute time frame, and there's nothing here. We're overall seeing more moves to the downside, which is bearish, than there is to the upside. Lower highs intact, so that's suggesting downward moves. So it all comes down to, if we break the low of 41,697 first, then we move down to 37,389. If we break the high of 43,038, then we move up to 47,712. Your guess is as good as mine as to which one's going to happen first. Going into Ethereum, looks like we ended up rallying up to an area of supply that I had last week. I'm not sure what time frame that was on. Let's take a look at, let's say, 60-minute. And nope, it must have been a 4-hour time frame. Let me just go back here. Yeah. Oops, there it is. So that was the area of the 4-hour that I had as a target from last week. And you can see we hit that area and started pushing down. So negative divergence when that happened. There it is. So it was nice. I don't know if anybody was able to take advantage of that and get out at the highs or even short this for the move down. It looks as though we got a positive divergence, but I'll get there in a moment. Let's go back to the weekly time frame here first and clean up our chart on Ethereum. And you can see that we've got a weekly supply zone we just ran into. So it's not the best of supply zones because it's not really big. It didn't give us a lot of follow through, but it does appear to be holding price down. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Going to the daily time frame, also was an area of supply. And once again, not the best example of a supply zone, but it was one. Let me just see what the low was here, make sure I have it right. Low was 32.06. The close here, 32.12. So actually, that's included. So it wasn't the best of supply zones, but it worked, as you can see. And we went above 60, which means we're going to bounce before we can go lower. So what that means is, I'm sorry, as soon as we go down right now, we're likely to bounce off this area where we have rally, base, rally, demand zone, 27.90.18, 27.55. It's kind of a wide zone, but that is likely to give us a little bit of a bounce. You see prices are already starting to flatten out before that. So if we come down and tag that area without going below 40 on the RSI, this is on a daily chart of Ethereum, we should get a bounce. And if we bounce, well, it's a pretty deep retracement. I don't know if we're going to be able to make new highs or not, but if we do, the upside target initially would be to retest the prior high, and then eventually 35.38 would be your next target. That is, again, if we come down, actually, we come down a little lower. There you are. So it would be 32.29 at 3,500 basically is where we would head to. And if we can extend, our next turning point is right there on the daily chart. Next fresh area supply, rally base drop at 37.63 to 38.91. So keep an eye out for that if we can hold this area of demand. Going down to the smaller time frame, see if there's anything different. There's a smaller area of demand. If it goes into this zone, we can fine tune this a little more for entry, perhaps by seeing it right there. Rally base rally. There's actually a drop base rally below that, with this being the area of demand right there. So we could go a little bit deeper. And lo and behold, if we do go all the way down, look at this. We got a nice target right there with supply and the Fibonacci extension of 61.8. So if we end up pushing through this upper 2700 level, which we may not, we may actually start to rally sooner than that. And the reason why I say that, and this is what I started to see on the 4-hour, price was making a lower low, but the momentum was dying. It was making a higher low. And that's a positive divergence that usually leads to buying activity and pushing upwards a little bit. It may not be ready to do so yet, but it looks like it's coming close to that area. And, if we do just get a small retracement before we push back down again, we probably won't go any higher than this 3,100 area. That could be where we end up doing a little bit of a bounce before we push back down to 2650. So for the next week, I'll keep an eye out for this, but it looks as though we might get a little bit of bullishness up before we then resume the selling pressure. Overall, still not looking too bullish. XRP, let's take a look at what's going on again on the bigger picture. Go to the weekly. And this one actually went a lot higher than expected. Last week, I was not expecting it to go this high. You can see I was looking at some continuation to the downside. It hasn't happened yet. What we did was, instead of this lower zone, we ended up going to this higher area. Rally, base, and drop. So we did hit that though, and it does look like we're starting to get some weakness again. Going down to the daily time frame, you can see it was actually the daily zone as well, right here. So we ended up hitting that for XRP. A little bit more bullish than the other markets, but looks like it's retracing now. The fact that we ended up stalling out above 60 tells us this is not done moving up, it looks like. We have a correction going on here, and that correction is pulling us back, but there it is, 50% retracement. So if we can break out to the upside, we may not be done retracing, we don't know yet, but it does look like there's still some underlying bullishness left that if we can continue to push up, let's see where this should be taking us. We have the extensions there to the retest, basically to go back into the zone. We can take a look and see if it goes higher. If there's another zone there, 100, oops, didn't mean to do that. 100% duplication. And looking back, it's kind of the next area of supply right here. Got drop, base, drop, although that doesn't really follow through well. This one might be a little better. No, still not great follow through. So there is a Fibonacci retracement at both of these areas, though, especially the upper one. Fibonacci extension area, drop, base, drop right there. And then I think lined up, 1272 for the extension. So keep an eye out for those areas if we're able to break up. If we break down and make a fresh low, then obviously we're going to trace more. But looking at the daily, this is the weekly that I was looking at. We're on the daily. The weekly, we had a pretty good retracement. We still didn't make a new high, though. So overall, still in a bearish trend. On the daily chart, though, this didn't look like it wanted to drop yet, and we're failing to make new lows because all we're really seeing, actually, I don't think we're going to get this high. What we're seeing is as we pull back, we've had these impulses down, we pull back, we went above 60, which means you can't make a fresh low in the next move. So again, we pulled back, can't get above 60, but if we end up breaking down, we won't make a new low before we pull back again. But if we do pull back, we're not going to make a new high either. So what I would actually look at is this. Believe it or not, I'm going to go down to a smaller time frame. There we are. And yeah, we already did one retracement right there. So if we impulse down and fail to break these lows, because it does look like that may end up holding as a bit of demand. So it appears kind of what I'm expecting for this week by looking at what I'm seeing on this charts is we may open up a little more selling pressure here today. We're already open. Obviously, it's crypto. It's always trading, but it looks like we may push down just a bit before we bounce. And when we bounce, we may only get back up to about this 81.12 area before, and what we need is on the the daily time frame, we need a high to be made on one of these pullbacks where we're not above 60, then the bottom will drop out. And what will happen is we'll end up pushing down ultimately to 67.87. So I think by the end of the week, we'll probably get closer to that area. I don't know if we'll actually achieve that target, but what I'm expecting right now, again, going down to the 4-hour time frame is this. We're going to eventually, or initially, push down, bounce at the 77.65 area. Once we bounce, we'll get a bit of a pullback to about 81.12. Then we'll continue to drop. And like I said, we may not get to the target by the end of the week, but we should be pretty much lower and close to that 67.87. So that's what I'm seeing on XRP. Moving over to Cardano. Let's go to the bigger picture here. And I do still have my notes from last week, it looks like, where I don't see we did anything. Really, I was expecting a bit of a push to the downside, perhaps after a bit of a rally. So we go down to the daily time frame and see where these lines lined up. Wasn't here either. I did see there's a daily supply here, but we didn't get anywhere close. As you can see, when we rallied up, we ended up making a high. We couldn't get above 60. That suggests we're going to continue to break to the downside this week. So going back to the weekly chart and cleaning this all up, there we are. Don't see anything to hold us up here whatsoever. Going to the daily chart, we might get a little more detail. Yeah, we do. And we've had impulse, correction. So we've got our targets now to the downside. 82.37 is the first target you see, and it looks as though we're going to work our way down towards that area. Go down to the 4-hour time frame here, and if we can get any kind of bullish momentum, it's not going to go very far. You see lots of great selling pressure coming out of $1.15 right here. All just pushing us down, pushing us down, pushing us down. We've got a bit of divergence, perhaps. Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Actually, we're still a little bit higher here. We're not much higher here. So actually, this is suggesting we're going to continue down. We may not be able to get up into that 115 area. It looks as though we might just break 104 and continue to push to the downside. See if we got any kind of a demand zone here. I'll put in a horizontal line just so we can mark where our current lows are and look back. There we go. Almost there. We're going back in time to see where we might be able to turn around. I'm going to ignore that one big spike. And here we are. We got a possible turning point right there. This has already been tested, so not sure that's going to work. I would actually look more towards this area where you see the buying pressure beginning at 54.65, or even, I don't think it's going to get there by the end of the week, but that'd be pretty extreme. As you can see, that top one, though, has been tested. So if we do continue to push to the downside, we have that one Fibonacci extension right here at about the 82 area. That's probably a good target to the downside for this week. We can even see with the Fib extension on the previous impulses. Yeah, look at where we stalled out. 1272. We don't have anything else measuring here. So, but I am seeing nothing but bearishness here. I would just look to see if there's good new supply zones that form on the smaller time frames if you're looking for shorting opportunities. So don't really have anything, unfortunately. The only one I had was the 115, so just kind of sit back and be patient. Solana. On Solana, we had a little bit more of a push upwards over the past couple of weeks, but again, showing lots of bearishness this week, pushing down. Doesn't look like anything's going to change here. It looks like we're going to keep pushing down until we find some sort of support right around, I don't know, could go all the way down to the 30 area, to be honest with you. It doesn't look like there's anything there to hold us. If we look at the previous impulses and the correcting back up, you can see we basically duplicated the previous move. That's all we did before we bounced. So if we do the same action again, where we go ahead and duplicate the previous move, that's what we're looking at. Oops. Clone. Again, we did it right there. We do it again. We're looking at a downside target just under 50, basically, what it comes down to, just before all that buying pressure comes in. So it's kind of what I'm expecting. Now, it won't happen this week, but they'll definitely get helped along on that target. You go down to the daily time frame, and we can't even get up to some of this buying pressure, or sorry, selling pressure. So this is showing lots of weakness, and I don't see any reason for it to stop. Overall, it looks very, very bearish. If we go into the 4-hour time frame, yeah, I don't see any good zones here whatsoever. So we do have one that's forming now. We have rally base drop that broke to fresh lows. I don't see that working as a really good zone unless we got more follow through to the downside rather than what we've got right now. You can see that selling pressure is nothing compared to the size of the zone. So I wouldn't even look for it for a trade, but I do see bearishness likely to continue here. Let's see, we already did XRP actually. Polkadot, we can take a look at. It looks like we're basing a little bit of a demand zone that I've had before. Must have been a daily. It's kind of choppy. Maybe it wasn't something else. Anyway, I'll go ahead and clean up the chart, start fresh. Yeah, we'll get the big picture in the weekly. It looks like we still have room to go to the weekly demand zone here. As you can see, 1407 is our next area of demand. We tried to pull back, ran right into some of the selling pressure. This is our supply. Drop, base, drop with a new low. And we got nothing but bearishness. We're going to head down to 1407, it looks like. So going to the daily time frame, we have a new zone that was formed right here. Rally, base, base, and drop. So if we can rally at all, it's going to stall out at 2166 before we push down to 1407. And that's all I'm seeing right now in the cryptos. Still not out of the woods yet. It looks like a lot of bearishness over on the horizon for the crypto markets. So until next time, trade safe, trade well. If you enjoyed the video, please hit like and subscribe. Give me any comments. I love the feedback, and I'll talk to you again next week. Trade safe, trade well, and take care.